All right, let's go ahead and talk about LIV Golf. Now, as I've said, I'm not a golf guy. I'm looking at this purely through geopolitics. But just so those who don't know, there has been a big controversy between the PGA, the Professional Golf Tour, and LIV Golf, which is a Saudi-backed golf event. Now, LIV has been going around and paying hundreds of millions of dollars in guaranteed money to some of the top golfers in the world, drawing them away from the PGA Tour, effectively splitting it up and making golfers choose. Now, some golfers, high-dollar golfers, are saying, oh, this is all about how the PGA treats its workers. And, you know, from what I can tell, they actually don't treat their people that well. They actually are skewed very much like in the stars direction. But that doesn't mean that you should be taking, you know, Saudi blood money in order to rectify that situation. However, the golfers aside, some people have sympathy for the individual golfers, like, hi, who wouldn't take their money? Well, one of the people who probably shouldn't take their money is the guy who's going to be president of the United States, already was, and may be again, and that his name is Donald Trump. First, let's start with this and put this up there on the screen, which is that Trump has been using his presidential seal at the New Jersey Golf Club, and this is a little bit of a problem because using the presidential seal at your golf club on multiple items during the LIV Golf Tournament, which was at the Bedminster, New Jersey golf course, a little bit of an issue given that it's directly funded by the Saudi Arabian government, and that by using that, you're actually could convey, quote, a false impression of sponsorship or approval by the government of the United States. It's actually illegal under federal law to do so. That doesn't mean necessarily this will be done, but again, you are looking here at an actual golf course with the presidential seal embedded into it at a Trump property, which is then being rented and being paid by a Saudi-backed entity.
A foreign nation.
A foreign nation.
Really, it's very direct.
Beyond foreign nation. Saudis. Like, it's not, this isn't Britain, okay? Even if it was, it'd be an
It
issue.
wouldn't be good, but still, yes.
This is the Saudis, which have hundreds of billions of dollars in weapons contracts if they were approved by the Trump administration. Right now, Jared Kushner and, I'm blanking, Secretary Mnuchin, his Treasury Secretary, are already on the Saudi payroll. They've already taken a lot of money from both of those government, or both of them have taken a lot of money from those governments, even though the internal assessments leaked that Jared Kushner is actually not a very good money manager for private equity. And they were basically like, yeah, we're only doing this in order to buy political influence.
Right.
And look, I think the people that we should listen to are those who lost their family members on 9/11, especially given that Trump recently was asked about this and he said, oh, it's been a long time since 9/11. Nobody knows who, nobody ever got to the bottom of that.
Nobody's gotten to the bottom of 9/11, unfortunately.
Well, you know, in a way, he is right that nobody has fully grasped the lengths to which the Saudis are responsible for 9/11, but that only strengthens the case of why you probably should not take their money. And a bunch of 9/11 family members actually protested outside of the Trump golf course, called upon the former president, possibly future president, to not take these people's money. Let's take a listen.
How much money does it take to turn your back on your country, on the American people? Well, according to certain individuals such as Phil Mickelson, Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, Dustin Johnson, and Donald Trump, that amount of money is just a few $100 million. We 9/11 families would trade any amount of money in the world just to see our loved ones again, just to have one last hug, one conversation, one more round of golf.
Mr. Trump, we now have the documents, thanks to President Biden. Simply, you lied to our face, and you've continued your bullshit comments as recently as yesterday in your ESPN interview. It's simple. The Saudis did it. They plotted it. They funded it. And now they're trying to distract every one of those sins with a golf tournament 50 miles away from ground zero.
I think we should listen to the man. And you know what? What he's getting at is that this is the Saudi dream. I mean, I've talked here before, the Saudis spent billions of dollars in 2001 on this whole, like, it's not us campaign, or actually, you know, we didn't have that much to do with it. By the way, come visit Riyadh, a great place in order to invest. They have spent untold amounts of money bolstering and making sure that they suffered no consequences post 9/11 through their connections with the Bush family, but it goes far beyond that. It's very, very multifaceted in their influence campaign. It's bipartisan, and this is the ultimate victory for them, to be able to pay an entity directly being profited by the former and possibly future president of the United States. And it's really just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, go ahead and put this up there. But this Trump-approved golf event and others is all being used as part of a major image rehab by MBS. And put Jamal Khashoggi aside, because it's so much bigger than that. What MBS and others are trying to do is literally build a megacity in the middle of the desert and cast Saudi Arabia as a non-oil state, like post-oil, investing in education. By the way, just ignore that we behead people in the streets and, treat women terribly. We just let them drive recently. Did you know that? These are things that they heavily are spending on to try and obfuscate their image, build themselves as a major geopolitical entity, and make themselves the cornerstones of American foreign policy. Now, that would be fine if it was not a rogue state that funded much of the terrorism that has killed American citizens and fundamentalist Islamic extremism across the globe, but that's what they do, and they want us to ignore that, which we can't, especially whenever we consider 9/11. So that's a very long-winded of saying, this is terrible. It's frankly just a continuation of his hotel policy while he was president.
Yeah.
And look, you're an idiot if you think that, if you're concerned about Hunter Biden and Burisma and you look past this, you're full of shit. There's just no way to say it.
Well, he was asked about the money that he was making off of this, and he said that the amount was very generous, but I don't do it for that. Okay.
Well, then don't take it. Yeah.
Yeah, you do have to say, imagine if Hillary Clinton was doing something like this.
Right.
Like, the right would be totally losing their minds over it. And you do also have to say that reporters should have spent a lot more time, the point Ken Klippenstein always makes, digging into the Saudi financial connections versus the Russian financial connections. They would have probably come up with a lot more as the first country he traveled to. There is no doubt that he has been perfectly comfortable taking their money, doing business with them, and then ultimately doing their bidding as president of the United States. And you see that, like you said, with Jared Kushner and Steve Mnuchin also ultimately cashing in. It's been so disgusting. And, I'm forced to watch a lot of his golf stuff now because of Kyle. It's been so, and he is obviously very upset about the whole situation, but it has been really disgusting to watch some of these top golfers spout these Saudi talking points.
Oh, yeah.
Reiterating the women driving thing, which is, you want to talk about virtue signaling. This is the ultimate, let me give you a little bit of something that everyone can hang their hat on, they're making progress. But listen to these guys talk about, I visited the kingdom and they're making progress and the game of golf changes the world. Come on. You all are doing it for the money. I'd actually respect you more if you just said, listen, I couldn't pass up that paycheck, so I'm willing to look the other way. It's not great, but it is what it is, and ultimately, whether I play on this tour or not, they're going to do whatever they're going to do.
Yeah.
I would respect it more if they were honest, but they all try to cloak it in this, oh, no, actually, we're doing something that's very noble and very good for the
Just be
world.
like, hey, look, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I'm an athlete. I have a limited earning potential. This is going to set me and my family up for the rest of my life, and so I'm just going to take the bag.
It'd be disgusting. It's
gross,
disgusting, but at least it's honest. All this, the game of golf will change the world. Shut up. So obnoxious.
Yeah, you're so right. I'd just be like, all right, man.
Okay,
At least you said it. Yeah.
Right, exactly. With regards to Trump, it really is, it's hard to wrap your head around. And the Saudis are betting on what they've always bet on, which is how much money they have and how much we need their oil. And listen, you can't really say the Biden administration has ultimately, even though he said on the campaign trail we're going to make the Saudis a pariah state, now with the Ukraine war, and we've decided Russian oil is bad and we can't have it, so we've got to go to these, the Saudi oil, which is so much more pure and clean and great and humanitarian, even though they've committed the worst, been part of the worst genocide in the world with regards to Yemen. So ultimately, the Saudis bet on their money and their clout and their reputation laundering, bringing them back into the circle of nations and back into good graces with corporate America. And so far, they've been proven right. In that article that we had up before, they said apart from oil, Saudi Arabia is also a major arms buyer, a potential source of multi-billion-dollar construction contracts to realize Salman's Vision 2030 for his country's development. So you could see the Trumps getting in on that cash as well. And sadly, that bet seems to be paying off for them yet again.
Oh, absolutely. It certainly will.
Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.